Hello ladies and gentlemen, another assorted friends, and welcome to the Anti-Slow Racing IMSA Series Round 2. 5 seconds when we have production issues. Round 2 is coming from the Autodromo International do Algarve, or as the British would call it, Portimão. This roller coaster of a track goes up and down the hills of Portugal, and it is going to be a fantastic ride for everybody involved. I'm Simon Davison alongside George Hill. George, how are you doing today?
I'm great, thanks. Really looking forward to round 2. Felt very weird to have a break week after round 1. But yeah, really looking forwards to it. Don't know why iRacing thinks we're in quali.
I believe we are in quali.
That is interesting.
Wait, no, the GTPs have set times. Never. Are we in quali?
I'm very confused. We shouldn't be in quali.
No. Well, I
we
think
are.
we are in
We've
quali
gone into
because
quali
the session
early.
says we're in quali.
There we go. Apologies, everyone.
Yeah.
Not sure quite what's happened there. Probably the wrong time set up on the session. So we've missed the start of quali. GT3s currently out on the grid. GTPs look like a couple of them have set times accidentally, but I'm sure race control are all over that.
I am looking at the in-game times as opposed to the overlay times, and I'm not seeing any GTPs with actual times set, so presumably that's just some weird hang-up between sessions. Either way, as you can see, Casper Ullman has the lead of the field right now, currently sat on a 42.7, being chased down. Lawrence Van Strickland actually has a decent time going in the AM category there. I don't know why I placed him overall third. I have him as. I don't think he's classed as an AM either. We might be having some technical difficulties here, folks.
Yeah, apologies. Not quite sure what's gone wrong today. We will get there. So GT3 qualifying anyway. 10 minutes in, so about 3 minutes left to go, and then we'll see the end of that. So let's GT3 Pro and nope. 1 second, everyone.
Just some minor teething issues. Either way, we have Ummelin is P1 still. Then that is Stefan Westra in P2 ahead of Lawrence Van Strickland and Ignis Vincerevskis. is my best pronunciation of that name, the current lead AM driver, in 4th place. I don't see Van Strickland in that timing tower, which is weird. I'm going to very quickly check. Nope, he's there. I don't know. By the way, just over 2 minutes left before the GT3 field will get the checkered flag. So presumably you just want to be trying to set your laps in now, or at least get your out laps in so you can get out for that final lap.
Yeah, it's key to make sure you're running right at the end of the session. The track's much more rubbered in, especially on a warm day like today. There is some risk of rain towards the end of the race, but it will not impact quali in any way. Casper Ullmann, 4/10 quicker than P2 at the moment. That is a massive time to have set, so it's going to be interesting going into the race if he maintains that lead at the front.
We have 26 cars entered so far, 3 yet to set a time. As we chase, that is the 33 of Rick van Overbeek. As he goes down in deep towards the hairpin. This is like such a scary corner. There's a few like hard braking zones at Portimão. That like hard brake into that turn 5 hairpin is definitely the scariest, because you are basically going down the second longest straight of the race course into possibly the slowest corner. You just have to shed so much speed and just hope that you have your bias set properly where you're not losing the car or skating off into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and this section coming up here really flows nicely. A lot of elevation around this track, which is always lovely. Racing drivers love bit of elevation, create some different opportunities. It's going to be a really interesting section in the race as well. We've got both classes on the track at the same time, trying to watch the hypercars try and file their way through GT3s in this section. It's going to be really interesting to see. You don't want to be offline. Final corner then here really elongates round until you manage to put your foot down. Sort of, well, is it the final corner? I don't know. There's kind of two, but there we go. In a GT3, it's definitely 2 corners. Flat down onto the straight. What can Rick do? Only a 10th away from P12 at the moment. Let's see if he can jump up the order.
So I've just noticed a very strange bug with the map overlay. The cars are going backwards.
They are indeed. That is that explains why I was getting confused by the corners. So let's turn off the map. Ladies and gents, that's what happens when you get a new track in iRacing. Not everything's quite set up properly. So I think that last lap from Rick was an outlap, so he's really sending it in the middle sector, considering that was an outlap.
I believe the GT3s should have their checkered flag by now.
Yeah, that message should have been sent out by race control.
GTPs are lining up at the start gate, so we'll hope to get them on track soon.
Yeah, sorry guys, the auto time is off in iRacing control.
So
That's
just
over the week.
Message there from
the top of the track.
Yeah, message there from race control saying that the auto messages didn't go out, but the black flag's been issued to get cars off the track, and that have set an incorrect lap time. That'll get all of them off the track, and GTP has got green flag, I've been told. So let's watch Rick coming to the end of this lap. Let's see what he can do. We'll try and understand what went wrong with the sessions later on. I must admit, I'm the one that set them up, so we'll see what went wrong. Pretty sure I copied the settings from last time, so hopefully they're not all like that, but we can obviously go through and fix the future races. So we do apologise for any confusion.
Yeah, I've called green flag GTP, guys. It's go,
As the GTPs pile onto the track. Only 18 today, but still a healthy field. Especially with the number of GT3s we've got going around. We don't,
apologies,
I don't want to overload the grid, but they are starting to make their way through the outlaps now.
Didn't go off. I was relying on that, so apologies for that, Apple.
I need to get my in-game radio back.
There you go, Alvaro from Spain, so not far away from Portimão. Obviously, of course, let's not make the mistake that some people do. It's not the same country. Don't know, people seem to think they're closer than they are. But Alvaro, not far from his hometown, and let's see what he can do in this qualifying session. He's been quick, been with us for a few seasons now, but we all know what happened last time. The Dutch League Racing cars managed to put all 3 cars at the front of the grid. So let's see if they can replicate that as well.
Robin Duhamel will have the lead of the field coming around the final corner. Well, corners, he's not quite that far forward yet. It's going to be a case of how much speed can he get through this final corner. Doesn't necessarily need to take the racing line here, but he just needs to build as much speed as he can because he's coming in for his first flying lap attempt. No, he's not. He's going straight back into the pit lane.
Interesting. Not sure what happened there to trigger that. Maybe just a poor exit from the final corner. Knew he wasn't going to set the lap time. That could be it.
He just immediately bails out then. We'll go back then to Alvaro Gutierrez, the Spanish driver, who will come across through the final corner. And I will say it is a slight headwind. The gust is going slightly off kilter towards him, but at a decent speed. So I'll definitely be feeling the increased drag through that first corner as an outlap car politely gets out the way. Through 2 and 3, trying to just carry the speed through there as there can. He'll flick a 4, and then it's full beam down the back stretch. As late as you dare to the hairpin, you want to find that apex. Stayed it out all the way to the outside. A little bit of room left there, but doesn't want to get on the rumble strips too badly. Turn 6, basically flattening these cars. 7 comes through. And now onto the uphill sections. Back down once again. It's a case of you want to generally miss the apex of 10 so you can get to the tight to the inside of 11. Get that line nicely squared up so you can go through back up the hill into the second hairpin. Ooh, slight overcorrection there. Not going to be too happy with that, but it'll still get this lap seen through to the end. Through Sagres, turn 14, and then it is once again as much speed as you can carry towards the end. You're really limited by how much downforce you want to carry here. You're just basically pushing the car to the limit to get as much speed as you can down the front stretch. And Alvaro Gutierrez will put the car in. I do not see him.
Very bizarre. Looks like he got an off track because he's not set a lap time.
Yeah.
See Mateus returning to usual service at the front, it seems. 0.4 of a second over Eloy, so that'll be disappointing for the rest of the field if he's able to maintain that sort of gap, won't it?
It was a dramatic race last time out that saw a lot of cars removed from a lot of positions, but Mateus Wishton not to be dismayed. He'll just put the car back up front and we'll go again. Algarve
on board now with Eloy Caballero, currently P2.
He's got the disadvantage of, ooh, that's some depth of field. He's got the disadvantage of being in the wake of another car, which just really can upset the balance of it. Obviously, it's going to be a massive decrease in downforce, especially on this last corner, where you definitely want the drag reduction on the straight, but through the corner, you want as much of that downforce as you can, just to try and keep the car fully gripped up.
Yeah, it looks like he'll be on the radio. He will not be happy with that. Stuck behind a car that was trying to start his lap, and you can see he lost a lot of time in the third sector there. And yeah,
and it's gonna be a dive bomb. He's going for a second lap.
He's clearly unhappy. Look, he's driven off off track, and he's still trying to get it through. That'll be reported to race control. They'll take a look at that, see if there was any blocking going on there.
It's hard if you're the faster driver, just because you're behind someone, you're gaining on them, but if they're not getting out of the way, you're just getting all of that wake, and it's just not pleasant to be sat in. Cars can get uncomfortably loose, especially when you're so error-aligned through corners like that. You're sort of trying to get as much as you can out of it, that you just lose that so much overall. As we go back to the track, chasing the 93 of John Paul Seaman.
Currently purple in Sector 1. No, we've not got the times on the board, but 25.5 in Sector 1, significantly quicker than other people have managed. What can you do?
Silvassi has managed to get close to B2. He's still 2/10 off though, but we'll see what Seaman can do, because with the purple sector, it's certainly looking promising that he's going to be contesting for the front of the grid right now.
Yep, 35.3, so decent middle sector. Alvaro Gutierrez has just done a 35.0 in the middle sector, though, so even quicker for him. He lost he gained in the middle sector about what he lost in Sector 1, so is that a setup difference? Is one carrying less downforce, so they're gaining the time down the start-finish straight? We'll see what Jean-Paul can do as he runs to the line. 15th all the way to first. What a lap. 29.4. Mega Sector 1 and Sector 3. Goes 2/10 clear of his teammate, Mateus. Can Mateus respond? That's going to be the key question. Alvaro's gone to P3 with that lap time that he set. Mateus on a lap.
Some very fast times being set on. Silvassi's close. Kevin Held's also pretty close to them. Only a smidge off of the time of the car in front of Silvassi. This is looking to be a very compact grid towards the front. Obviously, quali trim not the same as race trim, and oh, that's Mateus Widgeton going all the way off track. Slight wobble in turn 1, and at those speeds, sometimes the safe thing to do is just get that thing off the track.
Yeah, I wonder what happened to Mateus there as he went off. Looks like it was just a snap in turn 1. Trying to see if we can get a replay.
Just carrying a little too much speed, it looked like. Car gets a little loose underneath him. He straightens out, and at that point, you are correcting all the way off the track. Farcam of Eloy Caballero.
Sure, what is up with iRacing's accurate onboard sounds? These things cutting out a little bit as we're on board. Watch from the nose of Eloy as he finishes off his lap. He's had 2 green sectors, nothing purple. Can he improve? That's going to be the key question here.
I want to see how much Kirby takes, because it looked like Seaman just parked the car in the middle of the road, and it looks like Habanero is going to do the same, not taking the entire width of the track here, just needs the middle of it, seems to be where the grip is, and that is going to be enough for second place overall.
No purple sectors, but solid green sectors the entire way. So not quickest in any particular sector, but quickest across a lap. Second quickest across a lap, as Seaman is still P1, but still a solid lap time to go to P2. Bodes well for the race as well, if you can be quick in every sector. Gives you more potential to look after the tyres than the people with low downforce who are making up their time on the straights are going to batter the tyres in the corners.
When you're that low on downforce, you need all the mechanical grip you can get, and the tyres will just get chewed up over time. Obviously, potential to swap over the course of the race. We are expecting 2 stops. Obviously, there was some funny business last time out with potential looking at 1 stop. I believe everyone did make 2 in the end, so obviously if you're willing to go a little longer, you can just take the tyres in the pit window, but if you're going to abuse them to get there, there's a lot of time to be gained by not abusing them and just keeping them on for the race.
Yeah, difficult middle sector here, as we've seen on board. Very twisty, right on the limit of grip, so that will damage the tyres quite a lot, you'd have to say. I'd expect a 2-stop around here, given the lengths of the main straight, and as you said, that sort of secondary straight that runs from sort of turn 4 down towards the hairpin.
And even like the rest of the track, turn 8 through turn 10 is basically flat out. 14 through 15, you're basically on the throttle the entire way, or at least as much as you dare. There's not many opportunities to save a great deal of fuel around this part. of the world. So yeah, just try and get as much out of the tyres as you can, because you're going to need to come into ice. One down to the final minutes of qualifying here. Still Jean-Paul Seaman on top with Cabanero, Winston, Gutierrez and Gerards. Yannick Gerards has snuck his way into the top 5. Second AM driver behind Gutierrez, but it's a promising field here tonight.
Yeah, and I know we've spoken, as Mateus goes P2, I know we've spoken about this last week, but we've got a massively close field. Black flag issued to one Carvet. Not sure what that's for.
They've been issuing and clearing black flags to various drivers. This one to the 44 of...
Apologies. 44 of
Chris Strickland. Yeah, Chris Strickland. I'm not sure what that was for, but it might be try and clear a lap. I'm not sure.
So, Daisy van der Vacker,
another chaser.
A little bit off the pace of his Dutch League Racing teammates. Let's see.
He's starting at 30.16, obviously. Seaman with a 29.4. I do love this track, though. It is a proper roller coaster of a track.
Yeah, I remember
when it comes to the timing line.
When Formula One came here during 2020 COVID season, and seeing those cars around here was absolutely incredible. Sort of the most extreme Formula One cars I've ever had, the quickest we've ever had, and to watch them go around this track was absolutely incredible. And these modern day hypercars have got so much downforce as well. They're going to be great to watch around here. Mateus goes to P1.
Ooh. Barely anything in it, just over 200ths of a second. But will take his pole position back with 1 minute 30 left in the session. See if any of the other drivers have anything to say about that. Cabanero a little bit further afield on lap time, but still going for third. Seaman coming through the first few corners, so he'll be able to set a flying lap as well. So plenty of room for improvement, or time to improve for a lot of these drivers. Not necessarily room, because these are very fine margins we're getting towards the front now.
Yeah, close to the limit there through the exit of the previous corner, but keeps it on the track. He needs to find a little bit of time to go P1. He was 1/10 quicker than Mateus in sector 1 based off Mateus' last lap, but it wasn't a green sector for Jean-Paul, so maybe a setup difference between the two teammates. It's going to be key to see what he can do in sector 2, and that'll tell us what time he needs in sector 3 to complete the lap. Not far away. Very, very close at the front, as you can see. It's only 200ths of a second, so he doesn't need to find a massive amount of time to move up to pole position. And he importantly, matches Mateus in sector 2. So a 10th in hand at the moment for Seaman. What can he do to close that even further and put himself on pole by a margin? There's still laps to come from other drivers.
The headwinds died down a lot as well. It's down to 20 kilometers an hour. That was a lot weaker than it was previously in the session. There's a good chance Seaman could get a massive sector advantage through here. We could be seeing the new pole sitter for the race. The checkered flag comes out for Jean-Paul Seaman. He'll get in the nick of time, and it is not enough.
Identical to his previous lap time. If I look at his last lap time and his best lap time, exactly the same, and the delta between P1 and P2 is exactly the same. So it looks like he's managed to produce identical lap times.
Oh, that is amazing.
And indeed, he has. Looking at his lap times on the race control software, he's produced identical lap times on his way to P2. Both of them good enough for P2. Looks like he's maybe hit his limit then, taking a little bit more out of the tyres in Sector 1, and it costs him a 10th in Sector 2. So, achieve the same lap time, but in different ways to what he did last time. It's important lessons to learn. He might have learned something for the race in terms of where he needs to take the most out of the tyres and where he should give him a little bit of leeway. There was a little bit of rain forecast towards the end of the race, by the way. Can't see that currently on the weather tracker. I don't know if you can from your side using slightly different software to me.
So I'm just in game. I'm using their predictions. So It looks to be at 2:15 p.m. in sim time. There's a 74 precipitation. Wind speed looks to remain constant. I don't trust the wind direction because it was all over the place during Sebring, so I'm not trusting that. We are currently 1:05 in sim time, so it will be towards the end of the race. I don't know how long it takes between sessions, but there is a chance you need to bolt on a set of wets at the end of this race.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting strategy-wise as well. Do you extend as long as you can both stints in the hope that your second pit stop will be for wet tyres? Or do you go flat out and hope you can make up the difference of a tyre stop? It'll be really interesting to see what everybody does. While we're on the subject of weather as well, important to note we do have rain scheduled in quite a lot of the upcoming races. Everything is generated weather, apart from Silverstone, where we've set up a timeline that will see some various levels of rain throughout the race. So that's going to be great to see.
Chris and Strickland has had their black flag cleared. Surprised it took that long, but I digress. So we have the 5-minute warm session as we go through the quality results very briefly, but it's just a chance for everyone drivers to get their race setups loaded up to make sure we're not having any funnies on the actual grid. So Matthias Wiston then will lead them to the green flag. Jean-Paul Seaman will be alongside him with Cabanera and Gutierrez behind. Then we have Van der Wacker, Gerards, Slasi, Held, Priam, and Marcel Ruf will round up your top 10 for the GTP field. Let's go further down. João Diaz will be alongside Ramadou Hamel, Quinton Verdonk, Daniel Ronek, and Filipino Bon Giovanni. There we go. That took me a few reads.
Rounded out.
Once again,
15.
the white British male has struck again.
It's a classic commentators thing. So 15 cars racing in hypercar this week. May have a few more that didn't set lap times as well. But GT3 field looking very strong. So let's have a look at them. We'll go back to the top. Apologies.
It will be Casper Ullman who will be leading the GT3 field with Stefan Westra alongside Adam Jarvis and Ignas Vincerievskis will be the row behind. Mattia Ubertali and Emery Kemeldar will be row 3 ahead of Valkars, Magioni, Urbatis and Overbeek. Dutch Racing League once again having a pole position in a different category. Samira Shard will come from P11 alongside Cohen Gerritz. Daniel Morphy will have Ricardo Rivia for company. Antinori, Quaranta, Grimm, Bolter, Carroll and Lemeray will round out your top 20. And then string shotgun on the field, 1 minute, we'll have Jessica Perry for company in the back row.
That is provided both of those cars are starting. That'll be at the judgment of race control based off practice lap times. And if it didn't set a lap time in practice, they can submit a lap time to race control, but it will probably be a little bit tight to do that. So race info up there again. You can see the weather, 70% chance of rain throughout the race.
Pretty decent winds as well. Currently northeasterly wind, so it is a slight headwind and pushing into turn 1. I am okay, thank you for asking. Oh, I just realised you misspelt my surname.
Apologies for that. We'll get that changed for next race and we'll hide it for now. There we go.
Futurist concern.
Important to remind everybody as well, the results for the qualifying do affect the points. IMSA points given in this series, of course, giving it being an IMSA series, so qualifying points are awarded as well as race points. So it does matter where you qualify on the grid. That's why we see people care so much about that session, even though the race is now along and there's plenty of time to make up those positions.
I believe it is 10% of the race points get handed out as quality points, which for a single lap is a lot of points.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive the amount of the amount that we're giving out to people. You know, over 10 we do 8 races in the season now, but that essentially equates to nearly a full race worth of points available in just qualifying throughout the season. So really important that you nail your qualifying performance as well as your race performance. It can easily make the difference in the championship come the end of the series.
As we wind down, this is also a good opportunity for a lot of these drivers. Probably won't have run too much in traffic, so this is a good chance to get an idea of, okay, this is where GTP is going to try and pass me. This is where I need to give way to the cars trying to get through. Just getting an eye in for where you expect moves to come from or where you can make moves. It's very important. Because obviously you don't want to be held up by a GT3 at a bad point. Final moments then before we get into the actual gridding session.
Yeah, let's have a good race. I think it will be a good race. Always interesting when we have a new track in iRacing. We can see a lot of black flags being cleared and given. I'm just trying to work out what that is. I think race control were just clearing people's black flags that they got on pit lane entry in warm-up just so that they could get back out there. I did mean to say as well during warm-up.
Okay, everybody, just remember to not go on the green flag, to go on your lead car. And lead cars, please remember the start zone location. We were monitoring it at the start. And just have a nice clean race, guys, out there. Just give each other plenty of room. It's a long race, and best of luck.
So that's Steve you can hear from there. He has broadcasted before, so I'm sure many of you know his voice covering race control this week. Andy's got the week off, and obviously I'm in the commentary booth now, so Steve stepping up as he used to for the GT3 series we used to run and coming in as race director again. So great to have him back in that role and wish him all the best for what is likely to be a chaotic race given we're back at a new track.
Just for completion's sake, the start zone for this evening, it starts at the last red barrier curbing on the left-hand side of the straight, ends just a little bit past the tyre barrier, but I imagine we'll have already gone by the time we get there.
Yeah, we
as
have
the cars
got
now moving.
The shortened pace car lap at this track, but that shortened pace car lap looks not that short really. So coming in from the hairpin. And do you know what is pretty satisfying to see? We've got Dutch League Racing cars, and then the team whose name I cannot quite remember off the top of my head. I believe it's Iridium Motorsport behind, and then another row of Dutch League Racing cars. So interesting to see. Clearly having that team in the event rather than competing as a single driver can bring you benefits, partially because you've got 4 or 5 cars working on the setup rather than just the one. So I'm sure there are plenty of teams out there that would be willing to welcome more drivers as well. Always an advantage to have as many people on your team as possible.
Obviously, Dutch League Racing do have the pole position on the GT3 field as well. We'll go to them in a moment, though. I got baited. I, for some reason, thought that was turn 14. That is, in fact, turn 11. We have a little bit longer to go.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see what happens on the start. Dutch League Racing, I believe, had a little bit of a tangle at the start of the last race, or didn't keep the lead. So 4 cars in the top 6 once again. Mateus obviously dominating previous seasons, but he's got competition this time, and it's from his teammates. So it's great to see that he's been willing to bring them over here, and we're going to get some great racing. And the 2 guys behind pretty close as well. And important to remember, Alvaro, currently P4 on the grid, he's in AM and he's miles ahead. Well, I say miles, there's a couple of drivers around in that are AMs as well, but he's on AM pole and he's ahead of quite a few pros, which is always great to see.
Situation will pull up to the back of the pace car. They will come through the final corner. They will line it up 2 by 2 all the way back in the field. As we prepare for 1 hour racing at Portimão, the skies darken, the clouds have started to come in. There is rain on the radar as we speak. The pace car will come in. Everyone's going to be worried about that for the rest of the race now. The green flag flies. We are racing in Portimão.
Great start from Mateus there and his teammate following him down into turn one. One car's just been given a black flag. We'll see what that's for. Potentially jumping to start race control. The teammates, one in AM, one in pro, shoving each other off through the corner. That's not what you want to see, and that's allowed one of the Dutch League Racing cars
contact
through.
back in the field. As I don't know which cars that is. I believe. Spinner in turn 4. There's a large pile up in the back. As Kevin held Druid Sim Racing, got together with his teammates and ended up sideways in turn 5.
Obviously be under review from race control. We can see a massive incident just put up for review involving a lot of cars. One car's got a black flag. I'm not sure if that's, I think that's from a start infringement. Now they'll be reviewed by race control as quickly as possible as well. Big off in the back of the GT3 field as well.
Car at the barrier. Vitali goes off, gets, I believe, just that's a hooking there.
Yeah, turned from behind, it looks like. Back going, but looks like he's got rear wheel damage based off that speed and being overtaken by his teammate. It's unfortunate to see.
Would not surprise me. That was a hard lick he took there. Has to go to the front of the field, and Wishton still has the lead of Seaman. That gap stretched out just because, again, area wash is very painful in these cars, especially through some of these corners. It will be 6/10 coming through for the first lap, but they've put together a decent lead over the rest of the fields. Cabanero is the third car on track. He's just fallen back a fair bit already. So the two Dutch League Racing drivers already starting to pull away from the field.
Yeah, lost a big chunk of time in turn 1. Eloy backwards with himself and Alvaro going side by side, and Alvaro losing the lead of GTP AM. I wonder what will be going on internally at that team. Probably sat in a call together, so it'll be interesting to see. We'll probably end up interviewing one of them if they end up, because Alvaro's got a good chance of winning this race, and we'll ask him what happened in turn 1. But we're on board with Jean-Paul Seaman as he's chasing for the lead, and he stayed with Mateus throughout a whole lap of what is a very downforce requiring circuit. So let's see if he can keep this run. You can see him actually looking for the clean air on the nose. Be interesting to see if these two are going to work together, or he's going to try and take the lead from his teammate. He's staying really close, so not protecting the tyres right now, so it looks like he is going to try and get past as we come onto a run towards the main straight. A little bit more downforce in these hypercars, or GTP I should call them. This is an IMSA series, so he's going to be getting a good run here down through that final sweeping corner. He lost a little bit of time through the previous few corners, but he's right back up against Mateus now.
But you can see what he's doing. He's offsetting Mateus by like half a lane in pretty much every single corner as he goes through, just to try and get as much air on the nose of the car as he can, just trying to alleviate the tyres. Yes, he's going to be cooking them a little bit if he stays too close for an extended period of time, but just like managing the angle you come in through just to get that little bit of extra air can help a lot.
Yeah, you can see that's why he's been able to stay so close. He's seeking the advantage and getting that advantage on the straights of the slipstream, but then making sure that he's protecting the front tyres in the corners by looking for a bit of clean air, as we see the GTP field cycle through the hairpin there, and still this battle extremely close.
Gutierrez carrying a little bit too much speed into the hairpin, just couldn't quite get it turned around. Let's let David Van Wacker close up right on his rear. Managed to build himself a little bit of a buffer for now, but doing quite well so far. Elsewhere in the field, Casper Ummerlin still has the lead of the GT3s. Westra has fallen back a fair bit, so it looks to be a fairly healthy lead for
big send.
Contact. Urbatis keeps it vaguely pointed forward, but he's not going to be too happy with that one.
So that was within the AM field. Let's see if we can go and have a look what happened there, because that was...
Well, first I want to see this because they're 2x2 too deep into turn 5. They'll keep it all in a box. No, maybe a slight paint trade on exit, but they'll keep it all together.
Dennis has got to be extremely careful here. He doesn't lose his head. He's got the pace to get back ahead of these guys. Only lost a position because of that contact. That will be under review from race control, no doubt.
Now getting flashed as well as he comes through.
He's looking for
Good
a
look down the
move.
insides.
And he's going to send it through the second stage of the corner and clears the car. Loses it on the exit. And now he's under threat from the Ferrari behind. And more contact into the final sector. This is what I talked about.
Michael Bouter not giving me any room at all. It's just all taken, no give, and Bouter goes around. Helped around by, I believe that was Tom Carroll in the red machine, but hard racing in the GT3 field.
Replay of here, what happened to Bouter? Tagged from behind by the Mercedes.
Yep, that would be Tom Carroll then. Penalty for 23 of Alvaro Valcas.
Let's have a look at that lap 1 incident. Oh, that's what happened.
That is a deep send, and Baptiste just does not respect it. Starts turning in to make the corner as he would normally and collect a car and exit. Definitely
interesting. Let's go and have a look. Looks like let's have one more look at it. Looks like Ernest hits the curb on the way into the corner and unsettles the car massively. But still a very audacious send. That'll be under investigation from race control. Absolutely. And I think we'll see a penalty given to the driver of the number 22. And we've had a lead change.
Lead of the race then? Yes, Seaman has in fact made his way past Matthias Wiston. It's still a fairly close gap between them, but while we were looking at all the drama in the GT3 field, when there's more drama in the GT field, I see a car spin around. Ricardo River went around in front of the entire field. It looks like he managed to get towed. No one tagged him, but...
Have a look what happened. Oh! On the curb, all on his own. Oh no!
He spins out in front of the field. He just about gets away with it.
Everybody manages to avoid it
for a moment.
Toes, which is probably the right call there. Don't think he was going to get a break in the traffic. So making the right call there to not ruin anybody else's race by causing contact, which is always great to see.
Which looks like he's been caught out by traffic a little bit. There's just a bit larger gap as you come through. Jean-Paul Seaman just weaving a little bit more efficiently through the GT3 field here.
See if we can have a look. This is the replay. Overtake for the lead.
Simple move. Get alongside. Not early on the brakes, but certainly a better line through that corner. Just comes through on entry, clear on exit, easy as you like. Time penalty has been issued to the 21, who has been called for moving under braking, as we have a look at this move from a further out angle. Yeah, we should give him all the room in the world. It's an easy move. Team orders you'd almost see there.
Sensible, really, you have to say. Don't want to be crashing with your teammate fighting for the lead.
Absolutely not.
Sorry, I missed who that penalty was issued for. Was it issued to the 21?
To the 21, yes. Baptiste, who is currently in a massive pile of traffic, is being overtaken left and right by GT3s.
Oh, got tyre smoke. Oh, and more contact.
Contacts.
More
Everyone
contact.
goes around, and as much as this isn't stock car racing, that was as close to the big one as we're going to get.
Yeah, this is proper pack racing now.
Going through the fields. Diaz gets it down the inside of the GT3s.
And that's
Diaz involved in an incident.
Zhao. I think that was that incident with the GT3. See.
Ball with Filippo Bongiovanni.
Has he had a crash? We've not seen it yet. There we go. Oh,
that's a little bit late in the day to be making that move, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Race control will be looking at that, but seems, in my opinion, like it's going to be pretty cut and dry. Van der Vacker also been in an incident which has lost him the lead of Pro.
And there's the spinning car in the background that we saw collect a few people. Van der Wacker just about gets away with it.
Now on the hunt behind Alvaro, 1 second behind, so he's going to try and retake the lead in AM, but Alvaro will be using this time wisely to try and sprint away.
Wishton has the lead over Seaman again. There's a lot of cars being listed as under investigation.
Going to find that overtake for the lead. Don't seem to be able to find it right now. There has been a lot of chaos in the last few minutes, I have to say, making it very difficult to look through the race log.
So much is happening, it's hard to keep track of everything. But it looks like we've got the calm after the storm. Everyone seems to be just about in order. As Jean-Paul Seaman still close to his teammate. They are keeping it competitive at the front.
Yeah, great to see that they're not just settling in. They do both still want to be leading this race. Gives them more. They can make the call on when they want to pit rather than having to do the opposite of the car in front. But also being in second place means you can save a little bit more fuel, which will be key if we do get that rain towards the end of the race.
Give you a quick update. The clouds are definitely approaching. It's halfway towards the box on the radar. About 30 minutes out according to iRacing.
There you go.
So that's going to be interesting.
We'll get it in the last.
Marked as under investigation.
We'll get it in the last 15 minutes, which means we'll get one pit stop, and then people are going to have to do a slightly longer stint to get to a pit window for wet tyres if it comes to that.
22 to 25 minutes is about when you'd expect cars to come in to make their scheduled service under dry conditions we've seen in the past. So we'll see what happens as we get later and later into this race.
For my defense, he stood still in the apex.
As Verdonk getting very close to Robert Duhamel.
Van der Wacker taking the lead again, but he's trying to. And Alvaro's going to fall off the podium. He's going to even fall to P4 at this point.
It's a three-way dance. Oh, late move down the outside. Surely not going to get the car turned if he's that late. Yep, goes off track, trying to get the car turned. Can't quite make it happen, but Donk will pull through. Hold second place in AM for now.
Let's have a look how Alvaro lost the lead then before this battle. Oh, caught up in traffic. That's going to be it, isn't it?
It's a massive pile up in front of him and tagged in front. The 21 goes around again.
What an unfortunate run he's had this race. That'll be under investigation for sure.
But Van der Wacker will pull through to be leading of AM right now. Bon Giovanni on his own in this replay. I don't think this is going to end well for him. He's coming into turn one.
Not quite sure what's going to happen here because it's saying he crashed. Oh! That's a
little too much steering input, methinks.
Yeah, a little bit too much steering, a little bit too much speed. In all fairness, he made it look pretty cool and he got it back on track without losing too much time, but absolutely not ideal.
Some bruised tyres and a bruised ego perhaps, but he will keep going in this race. Race incident, call for the incident on lap 5 between basically everybody, it would appear.
Yeah, race control are going to be very busy today.
There was a lot of incidents happening in quick succession. We'll probably get through them over time here, but you see Verdonk not quite out of the woods for P2 in AM right now. He's got a lot of cars chasing him, but it does look like they've lost a lot of the steam they had building. Able to pull away a little bit by a little bit here and has actually built up a decent buffer now at 1.3 seconds and increasing. Meanwhile, up front, it's a Dutch League racing show. Winston still leads Seaman with the gap very close, but it's going to be one of these two leading us to the checkers if it stays like it is right now, you have to believe. As we are 50 minutes of the race, and maybe another 8 to 10 minutes before we need to make pit stops. 1 minute 30 looks to be the lap times they're setting right now. We're in that ballpark, so... Ooh, math is hard. 5-6 laps. Before we start to consider...
Black flag. Not sure what that's for.
For car 5...
Robin Duhamel.
I want to say, yeah, Robin Duhamel. Not sure what that's
Ah,
for.
he got a furled black flag at the end of lap 9, and then got an actual black flag at the start of lap 10.
I made black flag.
And he didn't clear the furled black flag from the race log, based off the race log, that is. So,
I don't even know what a full black flag is.
furled black flag is an off track and a slowdown. So, potentially, he didn't serve the slowdown, and that's why he's been given a black flag. So,
An actual black... Okay, that makes sense.
that is obviously not ideal for him.
Just control, please.
See,
I made
whenever I
black
get a
flag.
slowdown, I don't look at the flags, I just look at the slowdown. Either way, still a fairly calm battle up front, it would appear.
Yeah, apologies, Robin. That was a misclick.
Misclick for Robin Duhamel, who has his black flag rescinded. Looks to me like a lot of the traffic has calmed down now. Some battles ongoing in the GT3 field still. Tom Carroll fighting with Daniel Milpry for 12th place in the GT3 field overall.
Oh, we come on board at the perfect time as well.
Yes.
The ascender going into the hairpin. Daniel's not going to give this one up though. He's got the inside going into the next corner, but can't quite make it work.
No. Doesn't get his foot down hard enough, and that just lets the red-clad Mercedes? No. Yeah, it is Mercedes.
It is a Mercedes. Mercedes, BMW,
Tom Carroll.
Porsche. Nice little German
I
line.
shall
Whoa!
press my button. That is not the line, Daniel Morphy.
Oh, but he's still going to try and send it. That will absolutely be under investigation if he takes a position for gaining an advantage while off the track. And that opens him up to attack from the Porsche, who has to back out of it because he nearly gets into the back of the Mercedes.
Just needs to run the line, but can't get his foot down on exit like he wants to. They're just going to hold stations.
This is the great thing about GT3. Not much downforce, so you get proper racing, close racing like this.
When they do have the close racing on a big straight like this, they have enough downforce where this toe does matter a little bit. Not massively powerful, but certainly powerful enough that I think we might see a move to the inside for Morphy. No, backs out of it. Just shows the bumper. Says, I am here, I am racing you for position. Oh, it's going to be a bump and run. He's going to get into the back of him, shoves him out of the line.
Contact there.
Start car racing earlier, but we might just be.
Picked up a 4X, and I'll tell you what, Tom is not happy about it. That will probably be under investigation from race control.
I mean, it has to be, but if this was stock car racing, that would be, yep, that is a perfectly done move. Unfortunately, it's the GT3s, the bumper's a little more fragile, and I don't think that's going to stand, but my God, it was exciting to watch.
No, race control will definitely take a look at that.
Yes.
In an ideal world, they would probably ask them to swap positions, but they don't always have time to manage that sort of thing, to be totally honest. So Daniel might be smart enough to give up the position, but it doesn't look like he wants to right now. He's trying to pull away.
No, he's just trying to get the gap in.
But importantly, is he going to take the F1 driver approach of it's worth it for a 5-second penalty? Because right now he's already cleared a second over Tom, and if he can do that for at least 5 laps, then he's already made that time back up. And there you go, under investigation from race control.
So, coming up to the 20-minute mark overall in this race, should start to think about pit stops. quick weather update. The rain's still scheduled for 20 minutes away, so they're going to have that on their minds. And I'm thinking if that's the case, I definitely want to extend this thing because I don't know how... The rain might come in 20 minutes, but I don't know how bad it's going to be.
Oh, that was a move for the lead in
Oh.
And Ernest is off, but he's going to rejoin ahead. Look at a big slowdown for that, you would have to say. Let's have a look what happened there. That was in an attempt to take the lead.
Amy Grimm will take the lead of Am then and sail off in the distance. Flashes coming out. No, did they get together?
They did. Let's take one more look at it.
Ooh. From a different perspective this time on board, that looks to be contact. It has to be said, just on the way those cars were moving, but see what race control makes of it. But Batiste will fall behind Grimm for now.
Get one more look at it. Well, we need the left front suspension, really. One more time. Here we go, let's see.
Once more, with feeling.
Bit of
Oh, that's
echo,
contact.
but big contact anyway. It'll definitely be under review. But I tell you what, Ernest already back on the rear end of Amy, with GTPs all in between us. And
That's the hard part about racing in the GT3 fields. And opposed the way around as well. Sometimes you get hard racing as the 21 goes around again into pit entry. I believe had contact with one of the GTPs and he's had enough. He's going to pit lane.
Well, he'll need to be careful anyway because he was at risk of a black flag for crossing the line if he didn't go into the pit lane. But yeah, I can't. I wouldn't be surprised if he's had enough for today. To be totally honest, he's been in an awful lot of incidents. Another one is being investigated there, probably for the contact that just put him into the pit lane anyway. He's going to come in for his pit stop. We've had a couple of drivers in the pits. Jean-Paul Seaman in the pits, notably, so he's no longer in the direct fight for the lead. I'm going to see how long Mateus can go. Doesn't need to do loads. You know, we're going to have that.
Backwards on the track. That is the Filipino Bunjavi has just taken out a GT3 while backwards on the track.
Oh, into
Wild racing going on tonight.
Rick Van Overbeek, it seems like. Oh
He's gonna
no,
come in.
what a ridiculous
Hot
send.
as a missile takes the inside of the track, goes around and presumably takes a GT3 there. From Overbeek's perspective, driving along normally, fantastic day for a bit of racing at Portimão. Oh, there's a GT3 on my own. Said, oh, he's missed the corner entirely.
Yeah. Oh, and he's tried to go all the way around and the GTP didn't hold his brake, so that'll be a penalty from race control for an unsafe rejoin. I appreciate that might seem a little bit odd considering he was just flying across the track, but he should have held his brakes and that would have actually prevented an incident. So that will be under review from race control.
Is there a penalty for just generic unsafe driving? Because that was one hell of a send down the inside of a curb.
There definitely is. And you can definitely receive a black flag or a disqualification if race control team you're driving to have been unsafe. Obviously, don't want to remove anybody from the series unless we absolutely have to. But race control will definitely be taking another look at that because there's been a couple of similar incidents in that car. We see a lot of drivers into the pit lane now, including Mateus.
This is about the window, so not surprising to see cars in and out here.
Sorry, not including Mateus. He's not in yet. He stayed out.
He's
of
not
that
in
lap.
yet. He's in fact on the track. He overtakes the GT3 component of his team as 963 of Verdonk, I believe. Trying to find car numbers is hard. Yeah, Quinton Verdonk has been hit with a 20-second time penalty for contact.
So, Mateus stays out yet again.
His fuel number must be really good.
Well, that's what I was thinking. But then also, you know, what's he gaining from this? We're expecting rain about 15 minutes before the end of the race. Unless he's just extending this pit stop as long as possible so he can wait to come in for his second stop until the wets are absolutely necessary, rather than destroy the wets on a sort of intermediate track.
The rain is going to come in, call it 20 minutes from now. That doesn't necessarily mean the track is going to be wet in 20 minutes. Obviously, the rain is going to take some time to build up. You don't want to run your wet tyres on a dry track because they will just cook themselves to oblivion, and especially towards the end of the run, you will find yourself in a lot of pain. So giving yourself a window like Wishton is building himself here is going to be very good. However, given the size of his fuel tank, I would have to imagine he's going to have to come in at the end of this lap.
You would imagine so. Him and Alvaro, the only ones that haven't pitted now. Jean-Paul Simon cycled back to the front of the cars that have pitted. Let's see what Mateus does. Car off in the background.
Oh.
You'd expect this is the end of his fuel tank, but we've seen him do some magical things in the past. What's it going to be? Stays to the right. Yeah, he's coming in. Let's go on board with Jean-Paul and see how quickly he can catch. Trying to look what their most recent lap times are, and in fact, last few laps it does look like Jean-Paul has maybe been a little bit quicker.
Colder, fresher tyres, better traffic, who knows? But either way, Seaman will get himself around the uphill section of the track. The 93 is coming towards turn 14. The 75, obviously, with the P1 pit stall, is just sat at the front of pit road right now and is yet to start moving.
That's Bon Giovanni being black flagged. I would imagine that is for that contact at unsafe rejoin that we saw.
75 is moving, but not fast enough. I do believe that Jean-Paul Seaman has in fact cycled to the front of this race.
So advantage back to the 93.
That is everyone on their first round of service. Just about. And now we have the really fun game of the rain is coming. That is undisputed. It's about the width of the black box that shows on the zoomed out radar on iRacing. That width away from being on top of the black box.
Yeah.
Describing in very technical terms for people who have actually driven in the rain.
Jump to be.
Race control will be looking at an incident that Robin has just reported. We'll feed back on that. Nothing showing up on our race log.
What lap was it?
Asking what lap it was. Race control there, so they're clearly struggling to find it as well. So advantage back to the 90.
No contact, but some rough driving, perhaps.
Yeah, very possibly. So advantage back to the 93. 2-second lead at the moment, and growing actually. So is
Quite a
Mateus
substantial lead as well.
trying to make sure that he can pit when he wants rather than when the fuel dictates, and Jean-Paul is thinking, well, if you're doing that, I'm just going to send it and hope that the rain comes at the right time, because if the rain does come at the right time,
and unfortunately the GT3 lost the back end unbraking, which tagged you, so there won't be no further action.
race control saying that incident there from Robin is no further action. It was a GT3 that lost control all on his own. Bit of a weird line from Jean-Paul there. I don't know if he slowed down the car more than he expected. We're talking about the rain being there. You can tell how dark it's gotten quite suddenly as well. It might look quite light, but remember how bright the sun was shining just a few laps ago. And if we do get a shot where we can see the sky, you'll see the clouds have started to roll in now.
It is coming from the southwest, which is going to hit turns 15, 14, 11, that side of the track first. Edging closer and closer as this race goes on, so it's going to start getting very spicy. This is the calm before the real storm. We've had some bolts of thunder in terms of racing action so far, but the real weather is going to put that all under an umbrella very shortly.
Back at it again with the 21 and the 161. Ernest is not going to give up, no matter how many times he has contact in this race. He's still going to keep on fighting.
It is very hard racing between Grim and Batiste, it would seem. Certainly for Batiste, who's been in the wars a few times already. More black flags set and cleared. This is actually looking fairly close for the Porsche. It's gonna look to the inside. No, it's showing the bumper again. It's a threat. The fact that he could do it more than anything else right now. I'm trying to sort of move from that far back. Just something to put in your rival's mind. So just the threat of I could do this, and at some point they will have to respect it.
Not sure what's happened up front, but Mateus has gained quite a lot recently.
Ooh.
In fact, let's go and have a
Right
look.
on the bumper is the driver of the 75.
See there how dark the sky's getting as well. So, after all that, Mateus seems to be right back on him. So, not quite sure what's caused this. It does look like Jean-Paul's suffering a little bit. I don't know if he's taken too much out of the tyres, but it looks like he's not got as much grip as he did.
He had a massive lead, and he's been showing enough pace as a driver to make me think that something must have gone wrong in front of him, and he just had to slow down to get out of the way of it, but it does look like he's struggling a lot. I'm sure he'll be able to re-establish that lead.
On board with Mateus, and you can see him already looking for the clean air through the corners and then tucking right back in. He even shows his nose. He knows what's going to happen. He's going to have to pull out for his GT3, lining himself up. He's going to go for it. No, he's not. He's too far back, but he's closing even under braking. GT3s are going to get in the way here. What can Mateus do? Use traffic to his advantage. Much better corner. Close that gap right up, and the exit is blocked a little bit for Jean-Paul. Mateus using that clean air once again to keep his tyres in a better condition.
But if you offset the corner like that, you just get no speed on exit, so it's going to be a fairly safe corner for Seaman to make here. Again, Wishton offsets the line, takes the outsides. Not going to close you any gaps, but it's just going to let you again keep the air on that wing, keep it competitive. I think we are actually gaining on that Grim-Batiste fight here. Here we go then, down the inside of Batiste. Both cars make it through.
Podium battles in GTP Pro and GT3 AM, all on the same bit of track. They navigate it nicely, only 2 temps separating. So he's going to go round the outside, is he? No, GT3 is going to get in the way.
Work.
Can Mateus slot through here as well? He can. GT3 lets him through. Nice, respectful driving there.
Again, it's just offsetting. He's the one keeping his tyres in check right now, letting all the aero on these GTPs do all the work for him through the corner. He might not be able to get past his teammate on track by doing this, but he's going to keep his tyres in a healthier state. And if he's going long, if his plan is to make the overcut work when the rain comes, he's going to be in a very healthy state to do so, as we do start to see droplets fall on the track.
Now, obviously not enough rain to cause drivers to pit just yet, but it is going to reduce the level of grip on the track, and you can even see it looks like Mateus has been
This is weird.
a little bit more cautious. No rain now.
I don't see anything on the zoomed-in radar.
Literally just a couple of drops breaking through. Like you say, it's not very heavy at all yet.
But the first warning beacon has been shone.
It can barely be seen off board in certain parts of a track. Clearly only dropping in a few places. So what will be, and then we're dry again, and then we're wet again. So it's going to be important now to judge the crossover point. That's going to be what is key for these drivers. When do you come in for the wets? Because you've got to make sure you make the end of the race. No one can pit with 25 minutes to go and make the end of the race, apart from maybe Mateus. They're going to want to go a couple more minutes, maybe a couple more laps. So hopefully the rain doesn't get too bad before then.
Again, nothing on the zoomed-in radar yet, so no heavy rain to speak of. But it's just enough to weigh on the minds, and especially for Seaman, who came in earlier, who feels like he's worse on tyres at this point, is really going to be struggling, because you do not want to be on bad tyres in the rain if you can help it. Christian just lets the gap build. He knows he's not going to be fighting for position here immediately. Just navigating the traffic oh so carefully. You
Traffic.
cannot afford an incident at this point in the race.
Traffic is going to be extremely interesting when it gets a little bit more wet and everybody's trying to stay on that dry line. Nobody wants to get off it. The only chance to get past is going to be on the straights.
It looks like a decent battle for position in front of these two drivers, actually. Looks like 3 or 4 GT3s, all side by side, all in this slowly dampening track.
This is 4 cars fighting for the podium in GT3 Pro.
And they'll have to give it that fight momentarily because the leaders of the GTP field coming to carve through. They've been efficient all day at clearing traffic, so not going to take up too much time here. Just the Dutch Racing League just take no prisoners when it comes to traffic. They'll just go inside, quick as you like, through them, and they'll go back to their own race. Cohen Garrett's in 5th place, fighting for 3rd, with Jarvis Kemeldar and Kemeldar, Volkas and Maggioni. Get the names correct. Jarvis way up the field, it would seem like, as Ummerlin has the run of the field in the GT3 category overall.
Yeah, Jean-Paul pulling away a little bit from Mateus, maybe helped by the traffic. They seem very similar on pace when they're both in free air. Well, you can see Mateus closes down about 10th into what I assume is a turn 1 braking zone. But maybe Mateus a little bit more confident in the slightly wet sector 1.
Don't know how much rain is on the track at this point. It's definitely in the air.
Around the outside of a GT3, getting his lights flashed. So it looks like the rain is no longer there in sort of turn 1, turn 2, but it's still at this part of the track, and looks like it's getting slightly heavier.
The blue is slowly approaching on the radar.
Message there from one of the drivers, but can't really hear what it is. Car 392, Tom Carroll given a black flag. Not sure what that's for. Jessica Perry just got a meatball flag, more interestingly. Not sure quite what that's for.
Not looking at anything in particular at this point in time, so...
Yep, not sure what's happened there to cause a meatball.
Weird.
It's like they're not in world. We've got wet tyres on. Just so everyone's aware, only just noticed that Albert Preem is on the wet tyres. No overlay yet for wet tyres. We'll see if there's an updated version of iRacing SDK to get that for next week. Wet tyres for Albert Preem and wet tyres for the pro GT3 driver Casper Ullerman, and a couple more wets further down the field in GT3
Antinori's
as well.
taken them, Ubertali hasn't taken them, Lemery and Zampati have. The blue on the radar starting to overlap the track now, about halfway through, coming from the other side in fact, as turns out the north on race lab apps and the north in in-game is just completely different. It's coming in on the turn 1, 2, 3 sector first. Oh no, I can't read the map. That is in fact coming. Yeah, no, it's coming into turn 15.
So, going to be interesting.
Confusing myself at this point.
It's going to be interesting when we get one part of it. We've got more drivers in for wets. Ignatius in for wets. No more GTPs in for wets yet. They'll be watching the lap time of Albert Preem. Those of them that have got spotters in with them, they'll be watching his lap time to see. Maybe Albert needed to come in for fuel. That's what's going to be important to note. You can see a little bit of spray and lockups though. The tyres are not
having a good time.
Tyres are not in the right window at all. There's not much spray coming up there. The tyres are just going to be shredding themselves. You can see that he's going to have to try and cool these down wherever he can in rain. You can see a little bit of spray starting to appear, but it's not enough yet. He's going to eat the tyres up, particularly in a high downforce car.
This is the dry side of the track. This is the only where they're suffering the most. You can do a few laps on a lightly wet track on warm slicks, but you definitely have to think a lot of these drivers are going to start to come in, especially because now the entire track looks like it's been engulfed by the blue on the radar.
He was 5 seconds slower than the leaders last time round, so about 3 seconds slower than the cars around him. Got Robin Duhamel in the pits. Is he going to go for wets, pitting from P5 in AM?
This
is
you
fuel
can
window
definitely
now.
make it to the end.
So
yeah, the fuel window opened a few minutes ago, so this is definitely safe to do. It's a question of how long do you want to stay out on these things, given the lap time just really isn't there, especially on the eastern side of the track where there's just a complete lack of rain right now.
Robin has gone for wet tyres. This is where Mateus's fuel saving earlier on is going to come into his advantage. He's going to have more choice over when he comes in rather than the fuel. You'd expect some of these guys are being brought in by fuel at the moment, although it is getting wetter and wetter out there on the track. GT3 wet times also not particularly impressive of those on the wet tyres, but you can see a little bit more spray starting to appear off the back of those wet tyre runners.
Seaman and Wishton stayed out that time. They think the track is still drivable on slicks just about. The lap times are decreasing for the slicks though. Those guys were 3 seconds off of their best last time out.
You can see the spray even coming off the back of the dry tyre drivers now.
At this point, it's a question of you don't want to stay out when the switch flicks and it becomes really bad. So you want to get in before then, but it's a question of how long do you leave it.
The P1 and P2 currently have a lead of 15 seconds over the car behind, so they've got a bit more buffer to use. They're only fighting each other at this point, so you'd expect one of them is going to choose to go the other way. You can see it getting a little bit less grippy, a little bit more wiggly, a lot of spray coming off even the dry tyre drivers now. The problem is you might be slightly slower on the wets, but you're way less likely to have a moment through some of these high-speed corners if they get a bit damp. So it's
the rain was coming in at the end of the track, the 14-15 section. That's going to be where it's the worst, and that's probably where you need the most grip on this track. So it might be fine here. What I'm worried about is what are they going to do when they come into this final corner and they have to get the foot down and it's just nothing underneath them.
João Dias has also pitted for wet tyres now as well in GTP. We've got a couple more drivers coming in. Looks like, oh, and that's it. Who's that in? Which one of them is that in? Seaman in the pits.
You have to believe for a set of wets as well. He's going to go all the way down the pit lane, so we're not going to find out for a while. But he will be the first of the leaders to pit.
Well, he's got to fuel up, and he's going to change to the wets. Another thing to note is few tyres.
Winston back in the field. Lemeray and Ubertali, I believe, just got together. And GT3s. Not sure what tyres they're on.
I believe they're on the wets. Are we not going to see them appear? Oh, there we go.
Ooh, just a different speed coming to the corner.
That'll be under investigation by race control for sure. And John Paul, confirmation then, is on the wets now. So last time round for Mateus was a 1:33. The quickest hypercar driver on the wets so far is still only a 1:37. So can anybody improve this lap as it's getting progressively more and more wet?
Radar into a sea foam right now. They'll go towards the more green shades of green soon. You
can see the track getting constantly wetter and wetter as well. More and more spray. This could be a mistake for Mateus to have stayed out one lap longer than his teammate. It's really, really sector dependent. You see the rain suddenly pick up a lot more spray coming off the back of these cars now.
And again, it might be fine through the infield where you're carrying less speed. Oh, you can see the amount of counter steer he has to put in the car there, Seaman, on these wets.
Patrick,
just to try and keep the car point forwards.
Zilvassi comes in from what was P2 on track, P3. When I think you account for Jean Paul's pit stop, that'll be for wet tyres as well. You would have to assume Mateus stays out another lap. 1:32 last time round for Mateus, so not slowing massively at the moment. João Dias has gone off. He's on the wets. Let's have a look.
A little bit of action in front of him. Which a little bit of spray not going to be helping his vision coming into the corner.
Is it just going to be, oh, bit of curb and, yeah, a wet curb and a wet track. That'll do it. You don't want to unsettle a car
Not a pleasant
any
combination.
more than you have to. So Jean-Paul, obviously unrepresentative lap time last time round with that pit stop, but he was 2 seconds slower in Sector 2 than Matthias was this time round. I'm not sure about Sector 3, waiting for the times to come on. So he is losing time right now, but he's minimising the risk of one of those big snaps and big offs that we've seen a couple of people have, which is what people like Matthias who stayed out and Eloy who stayed out were at big risk of.
Wishton comes in. Wishton comes in. He's going to take... I don't know the driver behind him. Is Kevin Held with him. Held currently scored a lap down. But that is your leader of the race into the pit lane, presumably for a set of wets. But it's going to be close at this point.
See a lot of cars in the pit lane. Look at that. All for wet tyres.
Everyone coming in.
Looks like it's getting wetter and wetter. I can see the percentage rain on the race control software getting higher and higher and higher. Still technically classed as very light wet, but it does look like it's getting worse and worse and worse. And as soon as it gets bad through those high-speed corners, that's when it gets worse. All of the hypercars have now pitted, and they will all be going onto wet tyres. Looks like most of them went as far as they could on fuel, so it's important to note they don't think it's ready for wet potentially just yet, but they think they're going to need them soon.
Gutierrez and Van der Wacker are in the pit lane, never mind. They say it doesn't look like they've changed tyres, but that's just me not seeing them complete their pit stop yet.
So this is Seaman. He's behind Matthias, so Matthias just coming through turn 3 and turn 4. So he has gained the lead and gained quite a big margin. You can see there 11 seconds to his teammate. But what's going to be key now is if Jean-Paul's got the wet tyres into a better operation window. We can see Ernest off there. That's unfortunate. He was one of the first to switch to the wets. Getting wetter and wetter now. You can see more and more cars struggling. Whoa, contact there with P2 in class.
Oh, Wishton's off. Wishton is in the gravel. He's back on track. He's going to keep it pointing forwards, but he's lost presumably a decent chunk of time. We'll see what happens when they come through.
Yeah, down to 7 seconds there. So lost about 5 seconds with his 12-second lead. And see, he's going to be way less confident now as well. He's going to take it slower. This is what we talked about. See, he gained time by staying out on the dries, but he doesn't know what the wets feel like. His wets are probably a little bit colder. It's going to be slightly harder to get him up to temperature in these conditions compared to the conditions his teammate had. Let's have a look at his off-track.
It's like I was saying, you can drive around on a slightly damp track on a pair of warm slicks, but when your wets are cold and the track is also wet, it's not a great combination. Seaman just puttering around, struggling to find the balance in the car to get it turned around the corner, but still gaining on his teammate.
So Matthias got on the curb a little bit too much. Oh, another car off that. Matthias got on the curb and unsettled the car, which you can't do in the wet. The curbs, 3D curbs here at Portimão as well. The curbs do hold a little bit more water there. Not as hot as the track, so they do get a little bit less grippy as he goes a little bit wide there from Seaman.
All of that paint is going to just hold a lot of moisture on top of it, and it's going to make it so sketchy to go on later on in this run. That builds wetter and wetter. We have hit a lighter patch of rain, lighter in air quotes, but we're going to get some really bad stuff coming very shortly. This car's just drifting all over the place now, trying to find where the grip is on the track.
Race control clearing quite a few black flags still, so not quite sure what's happened there. Jean-Paul still slightly closing down on his teammate, but it's only by about a 10th in the last lap, so he's going to need to do more than that if he wants to fight for the lead with 10 minutes to go.
And this is the scary thing as well, is that you're having to fight with GT3s as well, and especially when this rain builds, it's going to be a very different situation on what line you take, because you want to be off the racing line for a lot of these braking zones, just so you're not braking on wet rubber, essentially.
Yeah, I remember.
But obviously, There's a lot of space that you need to use on the track, and sometimes you're going to have to take the space that's there, and that means you're braking on that wet rubber, which means you're just going to end up in a bad position if you're not careful.
Whoa.
Car sideways on the track, almost collects seam and just about keeps it pointed forwards.
Yeah, first laps I did in the rain were at Le Mans in the Cadillac GTP, and the difference it made to brake offline was incredible. So those drivers will be well aware of that. And like you say, as soon as you're in traffic, the GT3s are going to want to brake offline. So you have to brake on the very slippery bit of a track, which is obviously not ideal at all. And he's coming up to a little pack of GT3s now. Gained a bit more time than his teammate last lap, but his teammate had to get past these guys on his last lap. Oh, and he's stuck behind on the corner exit. Lost him about a second already. You can see on the timing tower. That is not ideal at all.
Traffic giveth, traffic taketh away, but in these conditions it's going to be a lot of taking. It's a deep move. The GT3 in front of him does not really move out of the way, but still gives him the apex. Siemens just going to be hemorrhaging time to Wishton here, who's already got past these cars, obviously. And it's going to be just a decent buffer continuing to build for your overall leader. We are very much in the green rain right now. It's pretty moderate, strong rain here. Nothing too insane, but definitely a lot building and definitely wanting to consider your racing lines here.
Fight for P2 here in GT3 Pro. Another Dutch League racing car, but right on the back of Adam Jarvis.
A little bit further back as they come through the final corner. Obviously searching for grip through that section is going to be a nightmare as well, because you need to keep that car pointing forwards, but you cannot get your foot down fully, because otherwise there's a lot of gravel on the outside of that corner that's going to be gleefully accepting you as Kimmelder goes onto that wet paint, and that maintains no grip whatsoever.
There's
a GT3. GTP, excuse me, this is like so scary. Slovasi car off in front of him.
That's how he
Never
made the move.
Well.
That was the move we were watching, the overtake, and he made the overtake because the other car was completely off the track at that point. Close battle here in GT3 with lots of GTPs all around them as well. This is the battle for, I believe, about 6th place in GT3 Pro.
And you can see the GCP stuck behind them all, like, where do I go? I can't see a thing. I've got 7 cars worth of spray coming straight at my windscreen.
Making an absolutely solid point. We'll go on board and we'll just illustrate how little you can see. This is way better than what you get when you're in the helmet of the car, but you can see already how limited your view is.
It's not good from back here, and we have the advantage. You can just see the GDP trying to car forward, they're trying to find a gap wherever there is one, just to not get stuck behind, hemorrhage too much time.
Oh, and he's around.
Maggioni looks like he's... Oh, no! I believe that's Kevin. Yep, Kevin Held for Madrid Sim Racing. Trying to punch his way forwards, but...
That's a different incident.
Yes.
Here we go. Here's what we want.
I think he might just get a little hot on the brakes trying to not get in the back of a GT3. You can see him in the line. Oh,
just a little bit too much speed, yeah. Whoa, and
just
nicely
overall lack
parallel
of grip in the track. If only I could look at that cool parallel parking a car. Either way,
Daniel Maggioni,
three-way battle.
Rick Van Overbeek and Daniel Morphy in this epic battle for P7 on track, and the hypercar nearly gets into the back of them as well. They're all off the track. There's no grip out there at all right now.
I still think that's held behind them, and he is being held behind them. So another GTP sneaks through instead. Torrential conditions now. Well, it looked mild at the start. It looks like it's just got built worse and worse. But credit to the drivers, they are keeping it pointed forwards for the most part. Nothing too crazy has gone on so far.
incident here for Jessica Perry. Says she crashed. Let's see, it might be under braking or mid corner. Oh yeah, under braking.
Yeah.
No grip in these sorts of conditions.
That was the tamest crash I think I've seen in my life.
Absolutely. Just nicely steers it back on track. Instant for Matteo as well, a couple of corners later. Yeah, you can see it already getting loose on entry. Manages to avoid
There's no
hitting
saving it in
anybody.
these conditions, yeah.
Yeah, especially cars with ABS, like the GT3s. The car tries to stop locking up the wheel. Really, when you're spinning like that in the rain, you want the wheels to lock up so you know what direction you're going to be pointing. Otherwise, the electronics inside the car try to keep different wheels moving to prevent lockups, which really doesn't help you in these sorts of conditions.
Well, in terms of the battle for the lead, then it's still Wichita leading by 6 seconds. Van der Wacker still has the heads-up advantage over Quinton Verdonk, and Kasper Ullmann still running the GT3 fields. Vincent Scherwowski's, I butchered that once again, I do apologise, but he has a 30-second almost lead in the GT3M category.
Yeah, he'll be very pleased with that. He's kept his nose clean the majority of the race. Cars around him have had a couple of incidents. We can see hypercars flashing lights in the background here, trying to make their way through this very tight pack. We've got a lot of cars all bunched up really close together on track here. It's just the way it falls sometimes. But
we are one slip tyre away from disaster at multiple moments, it would seem. But everyone just being sensible about it, trying to keep the cars pointed forward. They'll spread out into the corner, 3 wide on the entry to 5. Somehow works by some miracle. And they'll keep driving on, doing well, just chasing down Gutierrez. It's a tight fought battle through traffic, and they're keeping it together. Keeping it close, which is the remarkable thing. Like, through like 5 GT3s in a row there, you'd expect to have some breaks between them just to try and separate cars out, but they've just managed to battle through equally well. Oh no! I give them so much credit, and they're both in the gravel, and oh, T-bone in the back! Oh my lord, what did I just witness? Gutierrez just got T-boned hard.
yeah, that was what we were just on board with. Robin, I'm not quite sure what happened there.
Incident. I think we need a replay.
Yeah.
So this is the first incident that's going to get them both off the track.
Coming up the hill, going to get loose. We've seen someone else do it. That's one T-bone.
Oh, so this is where it goes from bad to worse for Gutierrez.
Oh no!
Sideways on the track,
grip off the
and
track,
bang.
And that's an even bigger incident. About 5 different cars involved there. Massive disappointment for Gutierrez. He was on the podium until that point. He's got a meatball flag, obviously. Looks like the left rear suspension is completely gone. That's a danger of these sorts of...
The rear assembly is gone.
That is the absolute danger of these conditions. Not just the slipperiness, but the lack of visibility coming in there. A lot of those cars wouldn't have even known there were cars off ahead. That's unfortunately brought out the meatball for Daniel Maggioni there, who we saw fighting for a lot of that race. That's really unfortunate to see.
Brutal hit, takes out cars. Looks like it's going to be called a racing incident by race control. Oh no, I don't know if that's a different one. I'll get back to you on that one, either way. See, Ullmann just happily driving on, has... The gap to second place has come down, I believe. Kevlar has brought it back to just under 3 seconds. Now, that could get spicy. There's a minute left in the race.
Yeah, I've just been informed of maybe a timing error as well, and one car should be in GT3 Pro but isn't being recorded as there, so I'm just going to try and get that fixed and see how that affects that field.
Well, the top 3, I would agree with GTP Pro as Winston Seaman and Cabanero. Van der Wacker is in 3rd overall, but obviously we categorise as a damn driver means he has his own field and is currently having the run of them. Timer ticks down. Where is the 75 of Matthias Winston? Because I do not see his marker. It could be a skill issue on my part. It almost certainly is. As he is, in fact, coming through turn 9 now to presumably take the checkered flag in a moment. It's been an up and down race, and at points he was fighting very close to the teammate, but a good strategy call on when to come in for these wet tyres has done him wonders, and Winston was going to lead this race comfortably. And with no further incidents to call for him, he has but one corner to make it to the end. And we will go round that turn 15 at a snail's pace in comparison to what he was doing earlier. Matthias Wichton will lead the field, and he will come home to win the race at Portimão. Jean-Paul Seaman will come home in second eventually. Van der Wacker will... Oh! Hello, Van Strickland. You've come out of nowhere. This is certainly a very tense fight for the GT3 lead.
Very close indeed. Apologies for the timing error there. Van Strickland was not in the first race and joined a little bit late today, so he wasn't on the timing tower correctly. But this is the lead, and Casper Ullmann, who we've been saying was the lead of the entire race, has just taken the lead. So,
well, everything has resolved itself. Casper Ullmann only has to navigate one corner. It is very treacherous, but he will do so perfectly. And it will be Dutch League Racing winning in GTP, and it will be Dutch League Racing winning in GT3. Casper Ullmann eventually wins the race.
What a move.
I forgot how far along the timing line was.
On the last lap, let's go on board. Apologies. And that's him side by side there. You can see Lawrence on the inside, and he's going to try and go all the way around the outside, and he's going to make it work. Just confident with the power, didn't hesitate. Let's see what he does through the final corner. He's already ahead. There you go. And look, what a move on the last lap in the Audi for Dutch League Racing. Incredible.
Confirmation then that Davy van der Wacker has come home to take the lead of the GTP Amfield, and Ignas Bintrevskis will lead the Amfield in the GT3s. Dutch League Racing celebrating a hard-earned victory here tonight. Well, I say hard-earned, it was going to be one of them. I think we knew that from the middle of the race, but Wichton definitely, with the right call on tyres, guaranteeing the victory.
Yeah, incredible. Matthias back at it after that mistake on the last lap last week. Incredible to see. We've had sort of an incident for the lead in the first race on the last lap, and then Casper Ullmann taking the lead in GT3 Pro on the last lap. Dutch League Racing coming sort of almost in formation on the cool down lap. You can see just how wet it got towards the end of the race. It was really interesting the way we had the weather changing and sort of picking up towards the end of the race, getting wetter and wetter and wetter. The different strategies we saw really interesting. Cars in the pit lane to finish a race. So yeah, crazy first wet race at ASR. We've got a crash in the pit lane there in the background. But crazy first wet race in ASR. Always great to see some good racing out there all race long. And, you know, a lot of these positions were settled in the dry, but we did get some great overtakes in the wet towards the end of the race as well.
How fantastic racing by everyone, honestly. It looked a little sketchy on that first round of traffic in the dry when we just had a few more incidents that I'd perhaps would like to see. But then it calmed down, and honestly, fantastic driving by everyone in the wet weather just to make sure they all got through it in the end. And just really consistent racing from everybody. Currently waiting on the winners' interviews. But just to go through the quick top three, I have it as Wichton, Seaman, and Cabanero. So GTPs, Van der Wacker, Oliver Donk, and Duhamel in the AM category. Umlin, Lawrence van Strickland will be second in GTP at that close ending, GT3 ending, excuse me, and Kevin Dark third there with Vince Revitsky's Boss and Grim, your AM leaders in GT3. We have the winners in for interviews, and we'll start with the GT3. I think Casper Ullman, how are you doing, man? Fantastic pass at the end there.
Yeah, thank you. It was just in time before the finish, so I'm happy. I'm happy to get another win.
So, like, talk to me about the strategy there, because it looked to me like it was lined up perfectly with the pit strategy to come in on that final stop, but it must have felt sketchy going onto those wets at the start of that last stint.
Yeah, I took a gamble and I lost. I thought it would the track would get weathered sooner, so I thought, let's take a gamble, which was also always going to be sketchy. If you lead, you usually don't want to risk stuff. But yeah, I came in and immediately I noticed, yeah, it's way too soon. So I was a bit angry at myself. I thought, I can't change it anymore, so I'm not going to give up and just push as hard as I can. And at the end, my tire started to cool down a bit, and I started to gain pace, and I was just in time for the last corner.
Of course, the eternal question for the GT3s, especially in the rain, though, what was it like in traffic? Because we saw some very close calls between a lot of GT3s and GTPs throughout the track, especially coming into the hairpin.
Traffic was really hectic. Yeah, like you said, a lot of close calls. Yeah, you just, you're expected to look in your mirror as a GT3, and you really have to have the mentality of, even if, you have to expect mistakes from others almost, because if you don't and you just do everything right, yeah, sure, it could be the other's fault, but you still crashed. So you gotta have a look. You gotta keep an eye out for the GTPs, and sometimes you just gotta get lucky as well.
Well, Head on a Swivel has worked out wonders for you, Casper Ullman. Congratulations once again. Fantastic last lap pass, and you have won the GT3 field here tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
And then we'll go over to our overall and GTP winner, Matthias Wichton. How are you doing, man? Fantastic race once again.
Yeah, mate. Thanks. I'm really sweaty after this one, man.
So obviously the rain is the main talking point. Let's talk about that first stint, because you went really long on that first set of tyres. Or first fuel tank, I should say.
Yeah, it was really a gamble when the rain should come. But yeah, I thought to just finish the full tank and just fuel half a tank and just change rear tires. Yeah, what was a gamble with hoping the rain comes on time. Yeah, luckily it did. It started raining really early, but the grip levels were really fine for 10 laps or so. And when my stint was finished, it was the perfect timing, I guess, for changing to the wets. And after that, it was just surviving, man.
I think you covered basically everything there, because especially when you came into the pits like a few laps later, 2 laps later than Seaman did, it felt like just you had the run of the field with that massive gap, and then you had the incident on the opening lap of the stint, it felt like, but you just kept it going from there.
Yeah, what is really tricky is when you go out on not a very wet track on cold, wet tires. You don't have grip. You really have to change your mindset really to really slow down and warm up the tires. But yeah, like you said, I had a little spun. Luckily it wasn't that big. And after that, just managed the tires, managed the pace, managed the traffic, and luckily it went well.
So obviously you're out there with a lot of your teammates from Dutch League Racing. What's it like racing with that many teammates in that close quarters for so long?
Yeah, it is really fun to get a full DLR podium at least. We get a Discord call with all of the DLR guys, talking strategies, what pace we're driving against the others. It was really fun. Especially battling with Jean-Paul. But yeah, luckily I finished ahead.
Isn't that always the thing? Beating your teammates priority number one. Matthias, thanks for talking. Once again, congratulations on your victory tonight.
Yes. Thanks, mate. See you next week.
And that does look like everybody who's around for interview, so I do believe we're done for the evening.
Yeah, I think that is the case. Hopefully everyone can join us next week. Might be a little bit different. I am travelling home on Thursday night, I've just realised, so I'm going to try and take my computer with me and see if we can have somebody else here to assist. But we will make sure everything is up and running and we are covered for the broadcast. So don't worry and make sure you join us next week for Kirby. Do you know where we are?
We are going to be at Watkins Glen. Crack, I've had way too many incidents in the GT3 sprint races this week. I did win one. It did require me to punt one guy twice. I'm not proud of it.
A win
but
is a
we got
win.
A victory anyway.
A win is a win.
Ain't that the truth?
Okay, all right, we'll leave it there. Thanks everyone that watched and joined us for our first wet race of the season. We have got dynamic weather, as we said earlier on, enabled for all of the races, so there is chance of rain throughout the season. Okay, thanks for joining everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye!